Okay, so it's like I'm live now. So, all right, the stream is going to be about, as the title states, like what happens in school with these family members that have, a different type of bloodline, let's just say, and they belong to a certain organizations, right, and all that. So they might have just completely different genetics, but with my experience going to school and going through the meat grinder that is the public education system, it's nothing more than it's just nothing more than a playground for these entities to exploit and torture the real ones, as it were. Or in my case, the first memory I have of even being in a public school, I think it was the very first grade, was being choked out in one of these classrooms for no apparent reason. All I remember, I was standing there doing nothing. I didn't provoke any of these freaks, these weird kids or whatever at the time, right? When I was probably, what would have been, 6 years old. But yeah, I remember getting choked out and all that. It was something that did happen. That's my first memory. Actually, one of my first memories ever is getting choked out by one of these entities in school. In fact, I remember he was choking me so hard too, like it felt like I was actually going to lose oxygen. So yeah, it did feel like I was going to die in that moment. So that was a memory of first grade. I'm trying to remember things a little more clearly, but all I can remember, or what I remember mostly, from especially school early on, was I just wanted to never go to school. I just wanted to pretend I was sick. And yeah, it was all just a setup anyways. That's what this whole school thing is. So they can get you around these entities at a young age and just fucking screw with your mind, traumatize you, and effectively what they call suicide troll, basically, or yeah, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, I saw some students in my school eventually succumb to deleting themselves, as people say nowadays, because you can't use that S word on YouTube too liberally. But yeah, they definitely, I saw what they. Yeah, so I saw what they did, and by the way, the chat's broken again on my end. Like, if they won't see me, let me just look at the chat because of the stalking, right? So I'm sorry about that. I'll check it on my phone. But yeah, so the first memory is getting choked out, and that pretty much set the stage for the rest of. Now that I remember in third grade, actually, some demonic old, teacher that was like in her 70s growled at me like a demon and said I was like lower than the lowest of the low, just completely pathetic and retarded because I couldn't figure out some random assignment. I remember them basically screaming over nothing. So yeah, and then of course, there's all these kids, right, that are always just, every day was just nonstop bullying and all that, and I just never understood why people couldn't just calm down and not fucking bully for one damn day, and what the deal was with all this loud shit and all this bullying, and just always telling me I was lower than the lowest of the low, basically, and saying this shit will never amount to anything. Just ridiculous, and just physical and verbal abuse on like so many different levels. But then I was in middle school, and I had a friend named Jordan. His name was Jordan, right? And we were in a band class together, and we were in some other classes together in middle school. And he said, yeah, he used to treat me like pretty badly for the most part too. But he eventually decided to try to become like a fake friend of mine, almost, if I remember right. And I remember he was bragging one time about, I've got this special ability. Look at my special ability, right? And I think we were in a band rehearsal or something in middle school, and then he takes his back or whatever, like the scapulae muscles in the back here, and he goes like, and then like his shoulder blades or scapulae or whatever, like they just completely turned into spikes, like dragon spikes. Which now some people refer to that as a reversion, right? So actually showing what it actually is, that is not skin deep, but actually they're perhaps real biology. And he had actually superhuman strength, and he would even beat giant African Americans, right, in the arm wrestling contest. Big old African Americans, right, and just slam their forearm or whatever. So he had superhuman strength, and I also remember later on, when we were doing group work in school, he even demonically growled at me and one of the other so-called students, right? Thought that was a real person and all that, and they told him to just calm it down, don't lose composure, you really want to, you really hate this person, but we need you to calm down, Jordan, so you don't snap. So that's what happened. Stupid Jordan was a complete piece of fucking crap, fake friend. Just like really all of them kind of just turned out to be that way because they were all just trying to infiltrate and ruin my life or sabotage what was left of it at that point after. After I was done with the school system and all their abuse and stuff, I was really traumatized. So pretty much I couldn't socialize, and I was pretty much unable to have friends or relate to human emotions or anything like that because of every day I was bullied for so long. And then that, in combination with the metal poisoning from all of the injections and tainted foods and medications, that was a wrap for me. So once they threw me into that meat grinder that is the public education system, I was just surrounded by these beings, right, that were demonically yelling at me and kicking my seat. And when it came up, when I was finally in high school, for instance, like they started saying I was going to be the next mass bang person. They said, look how pathetic you are, just laugh at him. They kept saying, wow, just look at him. He's going to be the next one that goes into a school and does a mass bang or whatever. That's what they said, and I didn't even understand at the time because I was just completely fucking miserable and depressed and felt like complete shit every day, and I just wanted them to shut the fuck up. There was nothing I could do to stop them because they would always just gang up on me, right? Because they're in a gang of themselves. Now they're a gang, right? Stalkers. So we know what they are now. The veil has been lifted. These fraternal families and stuff, and these bloodlines that don't belong to the original, creation. Perhaps if that's how you want to put it. I kind of gotta be careful with the words I use here, I guess, because of the record amount of censorship. Okay, so I'm gonna have to check the comments through the phone because, like I said, they sabotaged the comment section through the YouTube website. So I can't see it all. I can see is a monkey holding a wrench, and it says something went wrong. Check on the phone real quick to see if there's any comments here. Yeah. Sorry to hear that, Matthew, but this is the experience that the real ones are going to go through when they're put through the meat grinder, otherwise known as the public education system. Also, something that I should probably mention that they do in these schools, right, is they have these creepy teachers, right? And I remember in band class, when I was this big fat one, let's just say, big fat one. He was about probably 6'4", over 300 pounds. He was probably about 45 years old or something. He looked like a complete geek or something, or just some nerd that's fat, kind of like the South Park meme of that, nerd or whatever that was like playing the World of Warcraft game, right? And just looked like a complete embodiment of just a fat, ugly nerd and all that. He was apparently really good at the trumpet or whatever, or the saxophone or something. And then he was like, "Oh, hey little girl, do you want to come up to the podium?" And he was like, "You want to come up to the podium, little girl? And you want to figure out the right way to breathe, so you can do your breathing instruction properly, so you can suck in a big amount of air to blow into that trumpet or tambourine, or all the instruments that the kids play, or students rather play, because we're not baby goats, right? That's what a kid is. According to them, sickos. If you look into the etymology of the word, the actual definition. Yeah, the big fat freak was like, "Hey little girl, put your hand just above my crotch, basically, and watch my diaphragm expand and deflate, right? Expand and retract. And then now you'll see exactly how you need to suck air in to play those instruments." That was a lesson, right? Yeah. But we know now about Disney and and what they're into, right? So not a mystery anymore at all. What was presumably going on back then. And then another thing to mention, just the extensive bullying, suicide trolling. When I got to I think it was junior year, a friend of mine at the time, I don't know how long we were friends, it's probably all set up, like I was telling you. But in 2007, 2008, nobody knew what was going on. They were completely in the dark. Everybody lived in ignorance. Nobody knew anything. So all the information we had in the pre-YouTube era or pre-internet era was that we just came in and watched garbage television shows. The need of the state was pretty much the only voice for these demons, right? They were the only ones that gave us anything to watch. But they controlled the entire narrative, right? And I remember too, something to take note of were these students, right? The so-called athletes. And biggest demonic fakes in the entire public education system were probably the so-called student athletes. Okay, I saw them multiple times, all the time actually, go to the football field, track field, whatever, and then they would throw a perfect 70-yard spiral down the field, better than anything. I mean, it was right there with any professional level quarterback, in my opinion, or college Division I quarterback for American football. And they would throw that football deep, 60, 70 yards, accurate spires. They would do in the gym. There was 14-year-old students bench pressing 200. They would do the 225 standard. I believe it was with 245 on each side, which would be 180 plus the 45, I think. And that was standard. And these fucking freaks would do that with like 50 reps or something, same shit. I'm like, "Oh yeah, Jarrell, he's just real strong." That's how he has effectively superhuman strength, just like Jordan, right? Who could beat all of them, even if they were human and that strong. But of course, 14-year-old humans, even if they are genetically gifted, with physical strength, are not going to be able to bench press 225 like that. Especially on modern diets. Real humans are getting microwaved to death and poisoned to death through the food, primarily from medications, and they don't have strength. Real humans are getting sick all the time right now, especially ones that have some age on them, right? That are, once they get into their mid-20s, especially and upwards, they're going to start feeling things in this system because of the enormous amounts of radiation. And then you'll have these ridiculous shows on here that will brag that they don't get sick, right? Miraculously, right? Even though we're swimming in a sea of microwave radiation, industrial petroleum chemicals everywhere. Just admit that you're scientifically, medically not a real person, because these frequencies in foods have a biochemical reaction that cannot be negated past a certain concentration and time period. So, anyways, I think that was more or less. Yeah, and then also I would say that these creatures in high school, I believe by high school and before being in high school, they're trying to start recruiting you into drinking and stuff and doing drugs, and that's how they get you addicted to cigarettes, alcohol, and other bad drugs. And that's exactly what they did to me. I would never got into drinking if it weren't for these entities, if it weren't for these things, right? I would have never drank, I would have never smoked, but they pushed me into that type of lifestyle heavily because they said, "Oh, go get a girlfriend, go get friends and all this stuff." It never worked out for me. Like, I have been alone pretty much every day now for 35 years. So I'm not one of these fake retard channels that's gonna lie to you and tell you that I'm the shit and I've had all these girlfriends and friends, and I've had nothing. In fact, I've only been bullied and told I'm lower than the lowest of the low. That's really about it. I mean, even to the point where some of these fake friends were threatening to throw me off the balcony because they said, "You're just such shit." They did that one time when we went on a fake vacation to Florida, and they said, "We're gonna throw you." Well, one of them said, "I might just throw you off the balcony." I tried to lock myself in the room away from them. Yep. So I think that was everything that I could remember to speak. And this video was obviously inspired by the tech channel, right? King David, or however you put that. Really inspired me to make this video and give my account of what I think I went through and what other people other real humans are going to kill for you. Ultimately, what they want you to do is either traumatize you to the point where you can't function anymore and shit like that, you can't socialize, or you get to the point where they want you to off yourself. And usually they get to that point by like high school. So that's why you hear a lot of so-called stories of students offing themselves by around 16 years old, because yeah, that's what they do. That's how fucking sick these creatures are. They're demonic as fuck and they're disgusting. And yeah, that's unfortunately the creatures that we had to interact with and go to high school with, and school in general, public education. So I think that was everything I needed to really get out. So if there's any other questions, yeah, let me see here. Yeah, my family won't let me talk about that stuff, or I get yelled at and threatened. I get threatened homelessness and stuff like that if I start talking about it. I was trying to, let me read this one. Well, you know, can't move forward, looking in the rear view, and yeah, they want us to just sulk and marinate on all this nasty shit these entities did to us in school, because it's literal trauma that lives with you for life, because that's what early, you know, this whole issue of early childhood trauma is now a new thing, and obviously you don't get off to a good start in life, especially as far as like they throw you in there at 5, 6 years old, being abused verbally and physically by the teachers, the fake students, and all that. And yeah, I'm going to leave a link to that video that King David made about a story he was told in high school. And yeah, I might come back on it later tonight and do a Q&A, maybe a StreamYard Q&A if anybody would be interested in calling in and just having a conversation, or even one of these trolls, like they're free to talk to, but I will, you know, have to kick them if they take it too far. But I mean, I'll be fine. Like, I don't ban Brett or anybody at this point from the channel, because I just say let them expose yourself. Every post they make and video they make that is a lie and obvious fabrication is just going to further dig their metaphorical and metaversal grave, so to speak, because they're not speaking truth and they don't stand in truth, they stand in deception, because these are the enemies, yeah, of mankind, or these are the enemies of humans. So yeah, I think that was all I need to say. And fuck school, and obviously they're not waking up, and nobody has the brain since their kids in schools anymore like this. I mean, and just for the most part, just don't, you know, if you have kids, obviously don't send them to that fucking school where the demon stuff will just gang up like a gang of stalkers, right, in the school system. So yeah, I think that will be it. And I might come back on in about an hour or two and do a StreamYard, but otherwise, if I don't, I'll be back on probably tomorrow.